Party's not a party's a man who fights crime, and we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time with John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Forever, the podcast where we look at every minute, you say? 1 minute at a time. I'm Niall McGowan.
And here to give you all a scream of a time is your other host, John Parker.
Yay!
Back in the house, J-Dog.
And once again today we are joined by the power behind Austin Powers Minutes, Johnie Powers.
You won't find me in a tennis court anytime soon.
Well, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, this should be like in 10 weeks' time, hopefully people will be allowed in tennis courts.
That's fair.
By then.
Never again.
Yeah.
We now live in the Matrix.
And on the other side of the ring, we have the Pope of Pele Media. It's Brady Crane.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, you wouldn't find me in a tennis court either because it's just anything like athletic related. No. Coronavirus or no.
Hey,
not going to happen.
As a glasses wearer, I've never been fond of tennis because not only is the ball way too fast for me to see, but if that thing is coming towards me, I always think it's going to hit me right in the face and smash my glasses.
Glasses, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think that's just with any sport. So it's like, well, you know that they're just flinging a thing at you. Like,
well,
don't you want to protect yourself?
The worst is at school. I don't know if they do this in Ireland, but when I went to like an English school and stuff, because I've moved around a lot, they make you play cricket. And that ball, that's not only a dangerous ball to be flying at your face, but you're a child. Don't be putting kids in that kind of danger. That thing is awful.
Well, I'm sure in England you would have rugby and whatnot, but over here then we have Gaelic.
Oh, that's brutal.
That's just like, we just figured out a game where we have an excuse to like knock the utter shit out of people. And it's like, of course, you are definitely going to get hurt playing this. There's no if you're not careful, you might get a bit hurt. It's like, no, the game is designed for you to get hurt.
So is that other one you've got, what is it, hurling?
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
Because I guess, going to the Irish cliche, it's just like, I guess it's come up with by a bunch of drunks maybe back in the day. They're just like, just take the ball, fling it straight at your head. That's fine, that's fun. But anyway, today we have minute 98 of Batman Forever, and it opens with a faux flabbergasted felon, and ends with Bruce and Alfred going down to Alphabet Street. And I have to say, like, I've got, things I can nitpick about, the climax of Batman Forever and just the movie in general. But, like, you could go on in the next few minutes, I'll be like, well, why wasn't this here? And why didn't they do that? And But from watching these minutes and preparing for, like, these episodes, I was, like, getting excited watching the minutes. Because I'm like, it's all up from here. There's no downtime. It's all like, we're in... the climax of the movie's coming up. You get all the action. You get all the excitement. You get the resolution of the Riddler. You get all this stuff that's coming up. These next two episodes in particular, I was like, these are good minutes.
I think the movie does flow really well. And like you're saying, in this third act or whatever, you see Robin's got his first appearance where he comes out. They've addressed, the bat plane, the bat boat or whatever. Oh, yeah. And make their way over to the Riddler's headquarters and all. Yeah, it plays really well. Yeah, this third act.
I mean, not the jump ahead too much, but like just the setup of Bruce and Alfred with all the riddles laid out and kind of going over them and poring over the mystery and going like, we gotta crack this case and stuff. That's exciting. That's like a high energy thing to me. Where I'm like, this is what I'm here to see. Like now we're getting somewhere and stuff.
Yeah, it's done really well, especially the Elliot Goldenthal score. This movie has a really good score.
Yeah.
And that guy was always turning in. I think his score for Alien 3 is just incredible.
Yeah, I'm a big defender of Alien 3. I'm sure the listeners probably know this by now. I love that thing. I don't... at least the assembly cut.
But before we go like too far afield, we of course then have I think what you were alluding to last minute, Johnny.
Yeah.
Where it's potentially the most Jim Carrey moment of the whole movie.
Yes.
The thing he comes out with. Because he has, his kind of flabbergasted, like, Batman, you say? Ooh.
Coming for you. I'm counting on it.
And then he's just like, and I'm like, I'm good.
What are your feelings on that, though, right? Because, again, this is all part of that line I said I love, because it's utilizing Jim Carrey in a way that makes him kind of scary, and I like that, but it still might be too much for some people.
I guess if you're like, it really makes him look crazy, which would be scary in the context of you're literally chained up and you have no way to run away. If you could watch it in a vacuum like that in my brain and not think about other Jim Carrey movies, I'd be okay with it. But I feel like, again, I just keep thinking about other iterations of that like 90s Jim Carrey that I'm like, I don't know if I equate that feeling with what the Riddler feels like for me.
So do you see, whenever you see that happening, do you see Jim Carrey and not the Riddler?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like some people say whenever they watch a Jack Nicholson movie, they're just seeing Jack Nicholson, or a Bill Murray movie, they're seeing Bill Murray playing Bill Murray.
Yeah.
Which I'm not, is no problem. I love.
Imagine like you sitting through all of Ghostbusters minute and like, this guy.
This guy.
No, you're right, though, because like Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd, it's like, well, they're the characters, but Bill Murray is being Bill Murray.
Yeah. I think it's particularly true with this little Batman, you say, because in my mind, I bet they did like 15 takes, and every single take he did a different voice. Mm-hmm. And he was just... Because if you read it in the script, and if you read like the novelization, all he says is literally just like, "Oh, Batman's coming for you, huh? Well, I'm counting on it." And it's like, it does, he's just like, I'm going to dress us up a little and do a thing. Because me and Nicole Kidman's only time together, really, beyond that dance we did.
Yeah.
So, because he's like, I want to act with Nicole Kidman. Like, I want a thing to do with her. So
that's a good point. You don't really see him in the same scenes. That always baffles me about, is it Wrath of Khan, where they don't actually meet?
Oh, that's right, yeah. Wrath of Khan. Like, they just have that little, Admiral is coming through now, Khan. Like, that little over-the-screen interaction.
That's it, yeah.
One thing, though, as I was alluding to earlier, like, I can nitpick these scenes and go like, why didn't they do this to everything with Batman Forever? People who listen to the show might have noticed that that's what we've been doing. But one thing I would say here is that you could talk about like, his kind of crazy, Batman, you say, being intimidating and stuff. And maybe it's because I'm just in the mindset of like, why wasn't this darker and stuff? What I'm thinking is like, Chase Meridian's a psychologist. She's had loads of patients. She's got loads of secrets in her head. Why hasn't he just got her hooked up to the box? And she's just sitting kind of zonked out, like zombified. Like that's all he's doing. He's just like, I'm completely draining her brain because I want everything that she knows, because that's what I can do now. That's a much more immediate threat. It's a much darker scene. And then when Batman shows up, it's much more like, holy crap, like what's he done to her and stuff. It's like, maybe they were like, that would be way too far in one direction. We're trying to go for like a 60s Batman thing. That's into like serial killer kind of territory. Like you're wandering there.
Yeah.
That's like into more modern iterations of Batman movies.
But at the same time, in lots of kids' movies, you see things that are messed up. Like, I still was kind of scared in like Super Mario Brothers movie. When they turned that guy into a Goomba, like they take a protest singer. And they suck out his brain and they devolve his head until it's a little dinosaur. Well, that scared the crap out of me. Like,
that's the thing, though. People always think, we're going to make a movie. It might not be a kid's movie, but a movie that'll appeal to kids. So they tone it down. It's like, no, kids love messed up crap. Yeah. They love it. In fact, we've got a series. There were books here, and then it became a TV show, Horrible Histories, which is, it's for kids, but it's all the disgusting stuff throughout history. And it's wonderful. It's like all about beheadings and all kinds of weird stuff, but told in a way
Horrible
that's okay
histories.
for kids.
You know that they definitely were toning things down because there is a thing cut out from this scene. There's an image they used to promote the movie that you can get anywhere. That was all over the friggin' magazines. It was in the friggin' TV spots and stuff.
It still comes up on Google if you type the movie and you see it half the time.
Yeah.
What is
It's
it?
at the end of the scene after he does, I'm, which is the most Jim Carrey delivery of anything ever. I'm counting on it. Well, Chase Meridian's supposed to at that point say to him like something we've kind of been alluding to that they should have been bringing up throughout the movie, where she's like, your neural pathways can't, they're not functioning anymore because of the amount of input. Like you're frying your own brain. And he's just like, oh, kind of laughs it off. He pulls out a syringe and he's like, time, like nap time, sweetie, I think he says. And then there's a shot, you've seen it everywhere, like of him pulling her head back and shoving a needle into her neck and knocking her out.
Hey,
and that's,
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's out there. It's in the comic adaptation and everything. Like the really toned down for kids specifically comic book adaptation of Batman Forever. That image is still in there. And I guess even though it was out in the public forum already, they figured, is it too much to have him actively like inject her on screen? Is that too violent? So yeah, they took it out. It just ends with him shouting in her face.
I get it. I mean, I would have preferred it to be in there because it just makes him even more hateful. But
yeah, it's ruthless.
Yeah, I understand.
It's an interesting. I'm glad we're moving the convo into that direction because I think the thing that works. I love this movie, and I think the thing that really makes it work for me is it's sort of extreme quality, and it's a very kiddie movie, like kid friendly, fun, poppy movie. And you get to see stupid stuff like Jim Carrey when he's in the Batcave destroying the Batcave. It has a little wind-up toy and throws it, and then he's doing the baseball, like he's throwing the baseball, and they even use the music that they would play in a baseball stadium during a game. And if you look at this movie as though it's made for adults, but it still has everything going on in it that's already in there, very kiddie and everything. It makes for a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell am I watching?
I think that's the best combo, though, because people always say about, like, Star Wars, they go, people who try and put it down or whatever, it's a kid's movie. It's like, no. It's a movie that appeals to kids. It's not a kid's movie. That's different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think if you look at it through that lens, this makes for a really cool movie viewing experience. And I thought that the first time I saw it, and that's just the way this movie's always kind of been for me, is like it's a movie that's, seems on the surface like a kid movie, but if you see it as though it's something made for adults to go see, only, it makes for a just bad, crazy, no pun intended, like experience.
Hell yeah.
And
but the problem with the next one is they take that concept a bit too far.
Exactly. Something I really like in this is right after his line, I'm counting on it, Batman to show up here, we cut to the bat signal in the sky and then the laser light show type of making the question mark design around it.
Yeah.
And this sense of taunting him, of saying like, here I am, come get me. Here's where these lasers are coming from. The light show or whatever. It's like, there's no way you can't find me now.
Yeah.
I'm right here. And it kind of reminded me of Predator when Arnold Schwarzenegger holds up the torch and he just shouts out into the woods, like announcing his location, come and find me.
That's my favorite part of that movie. I'm obsessed
It's so cool.
with that. It's just like, oh!
Yeah.
It would be great at the end when, Edward Nygma's down on the floor and his thrones collapsed and stuff and he's just like, Batman comes up to him. He's like, come on, do it now.
Yeah, do it.
On. Kill me.
Now there's a fan edit. I tell you.
Hell yeah. And I actually really like this logo thing. Taking over the logo, turning it into the Riddler's logo. Because so then I tried to research like who's done similar things to this in the past, in the comics and things. And it's surprising. There's a real lack of plots for the villains around the bat signal. You'd think they would do this kind of thing a lot, or they would ambush him at the bat signal. It's barely happened.
It's like the only thing is they smash it or something, and you're like, well, that's, cool. It's a light. You can fix it. But
surely you would try and trick him into going to the signal and ambush him. But that's literally happened a handful of times when I looked into it.
Yeah.
That's what Chase does in this movie. She uses it as a beeper. Is that what he calls it?
Yeah, that's a sexual ambush.
Well,
the image of like that piece of graphic design, the bat signal with the question mark around it, was perfect to set up what this movie is. If you went to the theater and saw that teaser poster with no wording, no other image, you would know exactly what you're in for. I think enough layman people know who the Riddler is.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to know the Jokers and all that, but enough people probably know who the Riddler is. So when you see the Bat Signal, you see that, sold. Like, I know exactly what this movie is going to be through one very simple piece of graphic design.
It's
fantastic.
It's a real, the question mark motif is a real gift to the marketing department. It is really just like,
Absolutely.
oh, you can go to town on this. And even people have talked to who have not particularly enjoyed the movie have fond memories of the marketing campaign and the lead up to it, because it's just iconic. Like, such a simple thing. It's like, bat symbol, question mark around it. There you go. That's a thing that sticks in your head.
Well, it's like, I feel like we haven't gotten enough media with the extended rogues gallery that Batman has. Joker's been done over and over again. We've got Bane, right? But I feel like, other than, we don't really talk about Gotham, but you don't really get Edward Nygma a lot in predominant media when it comes to Batman. He's in the comics and everything, and he'll show up like in the Arkham video games, right? But he won't.
Yeah.
But they're like side quests almost, and you have to like save Catwoman half the time. But it's like, which is problematic for me anyway, because I love Catwoman. But
she's great.
It's just like, I want there to be a depth of bench, that, which is it's great about these movies, because I feel like you get more of a Rogue of the Week feel.
I like that, yeah. Which, to use wrestling as a metaphor, which I do every other week, basically, you know, when your stars get old and move on, you need to make sure, as a company, people have made this mistake, that you've got people ready to step up. Like, you've established these new people who can step up and take over the mantle. They're the new stars. Batman does have a problem with that as a series, I think, in film, because it's the same ones on loop. Where, I mean, why can't they establish? We were talking about Calendar Man on the Patreon. You could make him scary and cool. I mean, you'd have to call him Calendar Man.
Right, Killer Quilt. Yeah. There's quite a bit to choose from.
There's loads.
Yeah, I was happy to see the Dark Knight Rises go with Bane, because I don't think he's quite the household name, and there was some really cool stuff you could do with that, because he's not one of the more popular rogues, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing now, though, because I'm still so excited for the Batman, but all the characters have announced they all are people who you've heard of before.
Yeah, they've all been in the damn
you heard of
movies
before.
with it.
Yeah. And the thing is, though, there was a thing, unconfirmed, report, but there was someone on there who apparently has like some sort of insider info, and they're saying that the Riddler is the main villain. Like, that's what it's building up to. It's like, he's the main guy. It's like, I mean, I really like Paul Dano. Like, I'm thinking he's going to do a great job, but it's like, particularly not because we've just looked at a movie that had the Riddler as the main villain. Literally minute by minute. It's like, okay, all right.
No, I like him as the main villain, because in theory, he should be one of the biggest challenges to Batman. Because Batman is like the greatest detective there is. So who better than this guy with these fiendish puzzles and riddles? But they never portray him in a scary enough way. I want him to be like Jigsaw. Saw, you know.
It was a really weird. Last night I was rewatching Ruby Sparks, which features Paul Dano as the main character. And the thing is, like, that's a weird movie anyway, because it's billed as like, oh, it's like a kooky rom-com. But if you see the end of it, it gets into some really weird, dark stuff towards the end. The climax of the movie is like the most sort of dark moment of the whole thing, where you're like, holy crap, I didn't see this coming. And Paul Dano becomes a very unlikable character in it. And it was weird watching that. There was just knowing he's going to be the Riddler as he's in like a rom-com doing some dark stuff. I was like, oh, I see this guy doing it. Like, he's going to be great in that part.
Awesome.
So if I'm getting that from him sitting at a typewriter being goofy Woody Allen looking kind of guy, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, if he's putting in the effort to channel that into Edward Nygma.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that as well. Yeah. And, it's if the Riddler's or Edward Nygma's whole thing is his ego, his vanity, I actually think that they did that pretty well in Batman Forever with Jim Carrey's his plight as being, I've got to be bigger and better than Bruce Wayne. I've got to show him up somehow. So if that's the thing that's really driving him personally, like at his core.
Within this shot, like he's got to be bigger and better than him. He knows he's Batman, so he's got a bigger signal.
Exactly.
On top of the bat signal.
Yeah. So even though I have my problems with Jim Carrey in this movie, I thought that carried over really well, was his sort of personal drive. It wasn't just committing crimes for the sake of committing crimes. At the base of it all was this personal vendetta he's got towards his boss.
Yeah.
So
I love this little interaction though with just the hopeless Commissioner Gordon in this movie. Just standing by the bat signal, waiting for something. Just I guess like this is how they spend their nights.
Hey, that's more than he did in the previous 2 films. It's fine.
But it's just the fact that he's so kind of bewildered when he sees like, oh, what look at that. And then has to grab the other cop and be like, there! As if, like, he can't see it. Look at this, a giant question mark in the sky, for Christ's sake.
And you can see where it's coming from. Follow the beams.
Yeah. That's the whole weird thing, too. In the next couple of minutes, it's like, oh, Bruce Wayne and Alfred have to crack the code of who the Riddler is. He's friggin' got a giant question. He's telling you who he is. He's giving you a friggin' breadcrumb trail right to his house.
Yeah. Well, I don't think, the point of like trying to figure out who this guy is based on his riddles is kind of over. You know, the clock's ticking. We don't have a whole lot of time here. Let's just go to where he's telling us he's at.
Yeah. Maybe he's just fed up of waiting. He's like, oh, for God's sake, I'm literally going to have to do this.
Exactly.
And I have a problem with this riddle. I don't like the answer to this riddle.
Really?
Am I an idiot? So basically, we see Bruce trying to solve it. And it says, we're 5 little items of an everyday sort. You'll find us all in a tennis court. It's got a cute little mechanical tennis match.
Yeah.
The answer is vowels?
Yeah, I don't like it either.
That's stupid.
Vowels.
I love that. This is the riddle I always remember. I really like this riddle.
I like the mechanical tennis court.
Maybe it's because I'm a proofreader, but like I have to talk about vowels all the time in the margins, and I'm writing notes and like, well, you forgot the vowel rule here, sir. So
I like how it plays out, and at the end of it, it totally just gives the identity away, Mr. E Nygma or whatever. So it's basically like this is the final riddle. Show's over. Come and get it, and we're just gonna duke it out. Like there won't be any more riddles.
It's like you even try to start analyzing like, so this is gonna be the one that gives away the key to the whole range of riddles, but he wasn't the riddler when he started sending the riddles. So did he always know that he was going to reveal his identity to Bruce Wayne as being a guy? Like what? What was his plan?
See, that's the thing. Is like they say a lot of criminals want to be caught. Serial killers really want to be caught. It's got something to do with like their ego or something. I have no idea. So it's plausible to say that he wanted that information to get out there. He needed Bruce to know, not just Batman, but Bruce to know that it was the guy he fired or looked completely over at the job, Mr. Edward Nygma, as being the mastermind behind all this. Yeah. I'm the one who got
it's like a validation factor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Completely.
Well,
and it's done really well.
I like that. I definitely like that. It makes me want to watch Zodiac again.
Yes, yes.
Such a good movie.
So I actually, I got a bit obsessed after watching the movie the first time because I only watched it like 4 years ago, I think, quite late. I got quite obsessed with reading his letters and things to the police. Mm-hmm. I really liked it. Did you see there was like a final one he wrote years later? Mm-hmm. It's like 1974, where he was like talking about The Exorcist and saying it was the best satirical comedy I have ever seen.
Wow.
I know, that was really weird.
I love true crime, Jesus. So like I'm all about all of it. You made me want to go back and watch Zodiac again. But.
So what you're saying is you're going to do Zodiac Minute. Okay.
That would be actually really fun.
You know what? If somebody did it, it would be a hit because you'd be getting the Movies by Minutes community and the True Crime podcast community. Oh my God.
Remember when Darren Houston was doing the Social Network Minute? I think my guess spot, my entire thing was just like, you should really have been doing Zodiac instead. You know, this is a much better movie. It's like, I'd really love to talk about Zodiac minute by minute. Can you do that next or something?
Oh. Hell yeah, there's loads to talk about. Like those letters, like what was the first one where he's going on about he's killing? When they deciphered most of it, they never got all of it. It was like he was collecting slaves for the afterlife or something.
Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird.
You know, the thing with that is, if you were going to do that, you wouldn't just be breaking down the movie minute by minute. You'd be really getting into the history. Mm-hmm. It would be a historical podcast as well. So you would be doing a deep dive. I think last time I was on this show, I believe, and I don't think it made it into the episode, we talked about possibly somebody doing From Hell Minute about Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And you'd have to, get down with the study up on the movie and maybe the graphic novel that it's based on, but also just the detailed history of Ripperology. And
these sound like Jim O'Kane projects.
Yeah.
Very detailed.
It's like, when do you sleep, man? But yeah, that's Zodiac would be a really cool one.
Yeah.
For somebody to.
That's all I could think
pick
of
apart.
with all of this. It's like, make the Joker, make the Riddler terrifying. I know this is going for a 60s vibe. That's cool. But this new movie, I want him to be scary.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to get into any. Again, it's all not confirmed in any way, but there were images brought up from the Batman that were taken down very litigiously by Warner Brothers of a dead body in a chair with like plastic wrapped around his head and a question mark carved into the chair next to him,
man.
indicating the Riddler was the killer and stuff.
Like a Hannibal villain.
So you could be getting that, John. It could be on the way.
Yes. This is what I've wanted for years.
Well, that's one thing, though. Didn't bring it up the last time this riddle made an appearance, because we get them all laid out on the table now. Alfred cheating there with his laptop up, ready to get tinkering away.
He's the cutest.
Bright green light coming from that laptop as well.
Yeah, why is it green?
On his face.
Doesn't make any
It's
sense.
it's like an old school. He can only use like old school programs, so
Yeah.
it's all like
Like those old ones that's even before MS-DOS.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to think, though, he was just sitting here actually just having a game of patience, and Bruce brought in all the riddles. Like, oh, we're doing this now? Oh, for God's sake. Okay. Right. Vowels, I think so.
But I love it because he can't. What I really love about Alfred as a character in any capacity is Bruce can't do this by himself, and it really shows you. I mean, like here he's like being a detective and doing it, but he would not have survived and continue to survive without Alfred, Batman, or Bruce Wayne, because he's the one picking him up, patching him up, taking care of everything, helping him along the way. And so it's nice to see him in this shot, because Bruce is like talking about, okay, let's talk through these riddles, and he might not be the end all be all of helping solve this, but he's still that support system.
Yeah.
He's necessary to the process.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm glad the Schumacher movies really brought him in a little bit more than the Tim Burton movies did. Now, he did, in fact, it was the minutes that I was doing for Batman Returns, when he's in the Batcave helping Bruce out, trying to figure out the Penguin's location or whatever it is. So they're screwing with his like press conference that he's doing. And so, yeah, it was cool to see him like get more and more and more involved. And it really comes around in this movie, not just in like having him help with the riddles here, but also like giving him that boost of confidence, that personal boost of confidence, like we talked about in the last minute. Like you're saying, Johnny, helping him out not just as Batman, but as Bruce Wayne. Like, I'm here in whatever capacity you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
That's my life's just mission.
It is nice as well, actually, in following up from the fact that like everything else is, all the other razzmatazz of Batman is gone. The cave has been destroyed. His love interest has been taken away. Master Dick has run away. He's got nothing except for what he had at the beginning, was just him and Alfred trying to figure out how to do stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a nice, this would have been where they started. He's back at square one, but it was the same guy was there for him back then. He's here for him now.
Wow.
And stuff. So. And Alfred's had his own journey, too, because remember back in 89, he didn't want him to be Batman, but now he's so fully on board that he's down there, interrupting his game of solitaire to friggin' to play this.
That's interesting.
But one thing, though, we never, because I hadn't seen it, random happenstance in TV, since we recorded the episode with the 4 of us go forward, not back, to protect our queen from the foe's attack, and all that. The other riddle, one of the other ones that's on the table anyway. I was watching an episode of Pawn Stars.
No. Oh my God.
Yeah, famous TV show set in Vegas where people seen Pawn Stars. Just people come in for these guys, and it's like they bring in random crap, and they're like, "Oh, how much do you want for it?" And they can.
He's always got a buddy who's an expert in like the most obscure things. Well, I got a buddy who's an expert in like
convenient,
whatever the hell.
It seems to be every single time too. It's like you should really just employ people who know these things then, instead of having to get a damn expert to come in every time.
What's their call-in fee? It must be expensive. Right?
Well, they all got like their own spin-off shows and stuff out of it too. So I guess maybe that was what they profited. But the thing is, random episode, guy comes in and is like, "I got 2 movie props. One of them was a Batarang that he claimed was from Batman Forever. It was very clearly from Batman and Robin. They never said that in the show, but I'm like, that's a Batman and Robin Batarang. The chest riddle, like the foe's attack one. Ooh. And it was crazy. They came in. It wasn't Rick, the main guy. It was his son, who's, they call him Corey, I think. And the guy came in. He's like, I've got this, this riddle from Batman Forever, certificate of authenticity. It was in perfect condition. And the weird thing was, watching the episode was quite good because it gave you close-ups of that riddle you don't get in this movie.
Oh,
where you can see the detailing of, like, there's, like, swords in the back with severed heads attached to them that look exactly like Val Kilmer and stuff. It's like, oh, you couldn't see that in the movie, so it's nice to see it now. And the clip's on YouTube, too, so I'll put it up when the episode airs so people can actually see it and stuff. But the thing is, the guy came in, and he's like, I want 1,000 for this Batarang. I want $5,000 for the riddle. I'm prepared to go as low as 3.
Wait, you don't say that up front.
No.
You don't tell them how low you want to
bad
go.
heckler.
Oh, no. He was saying that to the camera before they entered negotiation. And the thing is, so he comes in, 1,000 for the Batarang. No, that's just off the table. Altogether, he's like, I'm not interested in that. And then they start getting into the wheelings and dealings with this riddle. And the guy's like, $5,000. And they're like, nah, like there's going to be a very particular buyer coming in. I can't go to like 4 figures for that. Like for like a random movie prop and stuff from like a very specific Batman film. I don't see it happening. And then the guy, I think he tries then for like the $3,000 thing. And I think Corey at one point's like, I'll give you $220 for it. And the guy's like, no, $3,000. And then instantly he's just like, you know what? We're not going to make a deal. Thanks for bringing it in though. And the guy just walks away. Like usually they always end up selling the damn thing, but like they didn't want the riddle in the shop. And then as the guy's out the door, Corey actually says to the camera, like, Batman's cool and all, but there's no way I can shell out $3,000 for a prop from a movie no one even really liked.
Oh,
I was like, what the hell, man?
What?
No, I mean, I know we're coming to it from like a fan perspective, and people liked it at the time, but looking back, like a lot of people don't like it now.
Yeah.
But it's still, there's like niche people who will collect that stuff, and you would make money off of it. It's not like he wouldn't.
Plus, if they're used to buying things, that's kind of odd that they just sort of go, no. Because, I mean, the shows we have over here, they tend to not buy things, which is hilarious. Like, or what's the one we've got? Antiques Roadshow.
Oh my gosh, I used to love that show so much.
Oh, do you get that there? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's a PBS show here.
I love that because they'll turn up with these like heirlooms or whatever, and they'll get them valued. Like, oh yeah, all of this it's worth £2,000, and are you looking to sell these? Oh no. Oh, okay. So you just wanted to know how much? Okay, fine.
I think
what's the point of the show?
I think that's a lot in Pawn Stars too. There's a lot of when the customer walks away. You always get a vibe like, did they just come in to get the free evaluation?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, you say it's worth like $5,000. All right, I'm going to go off and get $5,000 for it then. So no, you're offering me like 4. So I was like, well, I want to get all the money. So I'm not going to sell it to you.
Yeah. Sorry, man. 220 is not going to cut it. Yeah. I said $5,000 as low as 3.
I felt really gutted though, just for the people who made the prop, because the riddle is amazingly well made, and it was in perfect condition. It's like $3,000 is not that much for a collector for that. Like that's such an intricate bit of, of craftsmanship. It's like I feel bad that was getting turned down. It's like it's worth it just for the effort put into it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and you got to wonder where it is now. I'm assuming that guy still has it,
Oh, well, if he does, Patreon listeners, donate money and we'll buy it.
Yeah.
It would be a thing if I did have like a lot of money just to throw around. I would collect the 5 riddles from this.
Yeah.
Like, if I can get the set, I'll take them all. Like, by all means.
Oh my gosh, to have the tennis court one, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, that's the
thing.
thing.
Your piano, it's a metronome for you. It's perfect.
That's the thing. I'm not going to, voice my opinion on if he did it or not, right? But let's talk about Johnny Depp. I think I've brought this up before. Like, people were criticizing him not that long ago when the whole court case was happening because of the money he spent on wine. Now, what is the point in becoming rich and famous if you're not going to blow your damn money on wine? What's the point in having all this money?
Like Bleeding Gums Murphy with his Fabergé eggs.
Yeah.
I think I would probably invest in Fabergé eggs.
See, Johnny Depp probably has 100 Fabergé eggs, so he's like, well, I should get some more wine then.
You know, guys, it wouldn't be an episode of Bat Minute if we didn't somehow bring it back to Frasier.
Yeah.
Wasn't there an episode where they go on Antiques Roadshow with a like a little bear?
That's right. Yes, like a bear clock.
And their dad convinces them they're part of a royal Russian family or something.
Yeah, it's supposed to be from the Tsar or something. That they think they're actually related to the Romanovs or something.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I just remember at the end of that episode does have a great Frasier line where the guy's going over like, oh yes, and a maid absconded with the clock, and Frasier, just in that perfect delivery, does, oh, there's a back aching for the lash. It's like, oh, Kelsey Grammer, no one can do it like you can.
Well, you know, as a pretty serious leftist, screw the Romanovs.
Well, that was the thing that was the twist at the end of the episode, is that Frasier and Niles think that they're related to the Romanovs because this clock's in the family, and it turns out it was stolen by like a scullery maid, and they were just related to like Russian impoverished, homeless people.
Hey,
basically.
real people.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're still real people. So I have a question about the movie, not Frasier. Whenever we see the city, we see the cityscape with the question mark going over the bat signal. There's a billboard on the side of some building with some image that I could not make out, and I think it has the word Apollo in it. And I can't quite tell what's on there. I thought it was saying like a UFO with like this beam coming out of the bottom of it, and could not figure out what it was. Did any of you guys see that?
I think we during the minutes where have all the waves of the box going out, they use the same shot basically.
Oh yeah.
So we talk about like the statue. It's not as prominent in this version of it, but the statue blatantly has an erection that you can't quite see.
Oh God.
I think I don't think we spotted that it said Apollo in that minute. But I think we just think, oh, it's like a UFO, because I guess it had all like theremin sci-fi music during that scene.
Yeah.
The Apollo thing actually would be a good call, because people might remember in the comic books, Harvey Dent's nickname was Apollo.
Oh yeah,
so it was Harvey Apollo Dent. So maybe that's maybe Joel Schumacher was going a little further back and getting a little more in detail than we initially thought.
He's like, we'll see what nerds who do a minute by minute breakdown podcast of this movie one day. See if they'll figure this out.
I did try and look it up, to be honest. I did see it and I couldn't find anything, and they didn't mention it anywhere that I could see in any like supplementary materials. It looked either to me like a UFO or some kind of weird light shining on like Atlas lifting the world, but it clearly says Apollo.
Well, that's the thing though, like because you have Gordon again and the cop talking about little things that could have referenced. I am devastated, particularly in that they're going for 60s Batman vibes. Gordon up there with a random beat cop. Why isn't the guy all like, oh, saints be praised and Jesus and Bagora? Just make him Chief O'Hara. He's right there. Just do it.
Yeah.
You just want to see some Irish representation.
Exactly. It's like, well, all the movies all green anyway. You might as well get in someone from the Emerald Isle. It's just like the Chief O'Hara cinematic legacy. It's just died with the 60s show. Him and Aunt Harriet. They just don't exist outside that show.
All right, Aunt Harriet. Was she... I am not too versed in the 60s show. Was she in on Bruce being Batman? Was she in on the secret?
No. She was... There's always like a humorous thing where she was just so comically oblivious to the fact that like... Yeah. Bruce and Dick were always like, oh, Aunt Harriet, we have to nip out for a fishing trip. Like, oh, those boys and their fishing trip and stuff. They did that, the Adam West cartoon recently, The Return of the Cape Crusaders. They had a good joke in that with Aunt Harriet where she's saying to Alfred, like when Bruce and Dick keep nipping off, she's like, oh, those boys, you know what they're up to, don't you, Alfred? And he's like, I'm afraid I don't, miss. He's like, oh, two young men nipping out together all the time, doing something secret, like
wink, wink.
Yeah, to the fact that she thinks that they're like a couple, basically. And Alfred been like, "Oh, if only you knew, miss," and things like that. But the thing is, though, in the novelization, that beat cop is specified as being Harvey Bullock. They mentioned that he keeps calling him Commish and all this stuff. So I guess they're like, well, you don't want to blow your wad and Harvey Bullock here. Yeah. It's just a random guy. Plus, so similar to Eckhart, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But this actor though, who's playing him, again, it's just I love the interaction, but it is so stupid as well because he's like, "Who the hell's doing that?" And well, it's the Riddler. Like, there's a guy called the Riddler leaving riddles at crime scenes, and there's a giant question mark in the sky.
His answer really should have been like, penguin. Of course, just look at the question mark.
But this actor is a guy called John Fink. No relation to Barton, as far as I can tell.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher, he wanted that Barton Fink feel, but he just couldn't crack it.
Couldn't get it.
But yeah, John Fink's been in a bunch of stuff. Some of the more notable things were something called Bronk, which is a TV detective show starring Jack Palance, our very own Carl Grissom, where he played a detective called Alex Bronco, who was presumably a craggy-faced cop, and, justice was his number one guy.
Oh, is he a renegade?
I can only assume that he's a renegade. He was in Loving, which was directed by Irvin Kershner, who, of course, directed The Eyes of Laura Mars, which starred Tommy Lee Jones. He's in something called The Carey Treatment.
Oh.
And The Carey Treatment stars Pat Hingle. So there's a nice little on-screen reunion happening right here.
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
There you go.
Apparently he also featured in Battlestar Galactica back in the day. Like, not the modern... Well, it's not even modern now. I guess that's another... Technically, it's an old Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, aren't they remaking it or something?
Yeah. Although I think it was Bryan Singer who wanted to do it, so I can't imagine that's happening now.
No, please don't do it. It's a masterpiece. It's perfect. Don't change it. Anyone who doesn't like the ending is an idiot and a coward.
It's pretty weird. An idiot and a coward. That's what we're going.
Yeah.
Got to go into your logic on that later on, John. But this guy must be good friends with Joel Schumacher because he's also featured in Flatliners, Falling Down, The Client, Batman and Robin, Flawless, Bad Company, and The Number 23. So him and Joel must be like best buds, basically. And he's in Basketball, of course, from the guys who made South Park.
Oh,
Trey
I
Parker.
loved that.
Basketball
when I
good.
saw that, I got it on VHS, I think. Like, when was it? It was like 2001 or something. And I was obsessed with that. I watched it like 3 times in a week.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say one last thing that struck my fancy that he was in is that, just for me and John's purposes, because we're big Twin Peaks fans, he was in a Liz Taylor biopic that starred Sherilyn Fenn as Liz Taylor, and Ray Wise was also in it too. And I was like, oh, those two. Again, Audrey and Leland never shared screen time, so it'd be weird to see them together in a thing. But
Wait, never?
I don't think Audrey has no reason to share screen time with Leland.
Well, she lives in... Well, she doesn't live there. She works at the place he also works.
Well, I think... No, I don't think they ever interacted. I think maybe the closest would have been of him in talking to Ben Horne, and she would have been like maybe sneaking around in the background. But I don't think they ever talked or anything.
That's why.
Because she wasn't friends with Laura. She wasn't like Donna or anything. So yeah, I don't think they ever spoke.
Hey, are you saying she lies when she says she's best friends with Laura and she's devastated by the death?
But it just was weird enough too because it's just the other night I was watching How to Build a Girl, which weirdly enough features a cameo by Lily Allen playing Elizabeth Taylor. And I was like,
Really?
this was just an odd thing to see because she's terrible as well. She's like a really bad actress. That's why I'm assuming she was just in there because she likes the book. So she's like, oh, get me in there. But and plus Alexei Sayle, John, you're like, he plays Karl Marx in it at one point.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God, that's perfect. I mean, Alexei already perfect, but then you make him be Karl Marx. Oh my God.
Yeah, Lucy Punch as Sylvia Plath as well.
Oh, I love Lucy Punch. We've neglected what actually happens after this little bit we started talking about, because Alfred asks what we're all thinking. He asks the real tough questions. He's like, what do a clock, a map, chess pawns, and vowels have in common? What do these riddles mean? I have no bloody clue at this point. Because, of course, I haven't seen the next minute.
Oh, yeah. John's going to go off to a private booth now and we'll watch the next 60 seconds.
There is one thing I like, after hating the thing before. I like that each riddle has a number in the question, and they figure that out.
Yeah.
And they need to then figure out, well, what do these numbers correspond to? Now, this is a genuine kind of... It's like a cipher again. It's like Zodiac.
I love that you're determined to dial it back to Zodiac. You're like, no, this is important. These are all clues.
It is.
That's
it's
awesome.
important. God damn it. We
It's
need
going
to
be
crack
like at
these codes.
the end of this season, John's going to be like, the Riddler was Arthur Lee Allen the whole time. I don't know why they were going after this Edward Nygma guy, but it clearly wasn't him.
That's the twist.
That's awesome. Alfred's got this line here where he says, "Not entirely unclever." Why not just say "not bad"? Or
Because he's far too posh to
I was
say
going to
that.
say it just sounds very British.
British, yeah.
It's kind of like, he doesn't want to show he's in any way impressed. It's like, well, it's not entirely unclever. Like, I'm not saying it's clever, but it's not entirely unclever.
There's like a flourish to it that I really like, though.
Well, he is meant to have worked at Buckingham Palace, you know. He's a fancy man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Johnny said, guys. We just, think of British people as all of your posh and so elegant and so polite and everything. And if someone was going to say something like "not bad," it would be not entirely unclever.
If people do think that about England, right, either come here to discover the truth, or if you don't want your world rocked, don't come here. It's a horrible place.
Jeez.
Oh. But yeah, because now we're on the cusp. We're like, we're getting into cracking the code here. It all comes in the next minute, though. So should we move on to the next minute?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's rock and ride. I just wanted to get the biker mice from Mars.
Every time I see John, geez, there's nothing to bring up biker mice from Mars.
I mean, who doesn't want it? That's another podcast we'll do. Biker Mice from Mars. One episode at a time.
That might be. Like, I don't think the Biker Mice from Mars real estate has been taken up by anybody else.
Probably for a good reason. And then we'll move on to Street Sharks.
Yeah. Samurai Pizza Cats.
Of course. Yeah. There's a whole great range of these cartoons from back in the day. So anyway, we'll do plugs again at the end of the week. Let's all rock and ride into Friday and minute 99.
Next time, Riddler, you rumbled. The world's greatest detective deduces the identity of the deliverer of telegrammed cryptograms. But as our newly primed paladin preps to bid the Prince of Puzzles adieu, is there the need for a Dark Knight's derriere to make its debut? Find out Friday, same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.